In this video, we will show you how to replace your washer fluid reservoir on this Ford Fusion. This will be accessed through your front wheel well. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. To remove the washer fluid reservoir, we're going to start in the engine compartment and fully remove the washer fluid reservoir cap. We'll lift that up. If you are looking at the reservoir itself, you can see a small area that you should be able to push this out and through. So we'll just pop that out of place. Set that aside. At this point, safely raise and support the front of the vehicle so you can remove your passenger side front wheel. Safely raise and support the front of the vehicle and we can start removing the wheel. To remove the wheel, you'll remove all 5 of your 19mm lug nuts and we can get this off of here. With the wheel out of the way, we can see the inside fender liner. We're going to have to start dislodging this so we can gain access to that washer fluid reservoir located just behind this area. To dislodge this, we're going to start underneath the front area. You're going to find that you have 3 mounting bolts to remove. We can see one in the corner. There should be one in the center here and one all the way towards the center. We'll be using a 7mm for each of these. Now with that out of the way, let's continue on along the plastic panel and the front bumper cover and remove the mounting hardware holding the two together right along here. Sometimes you'll find that they're 7mm screws. On our case, it looks as though somebody used some push clips here, so I'm just going to pop those out of place. For these push clips, I'm going to drive in the center to unlock it and then remove the outer portion. Quick inspection. Now let's make our way inside the front wheel well. Now in the wheel well, you're going to find that you have 3 push clips making their way up, so we'll start at the bottom. One right down here. To remove your push clip, generally you can start sliding out the inner portion to unlock it and then remove the outer portion as well. If it does happen to come apart, just go ahead and slide them back together, but leave it in the unlocked position just as I have here. If anything's broken, replace it as necessary. Let's continue up the line. Move along to the next 2. Now let's move up to the top center. Continuing on, you're going to find you have 2 10mm nut certs to remove. There's one along the front here, and then as you move towards the front strut, you're going to find a second. Quick inspection of those. If it's rotted or damaged, go ahead and replace it. Continue on. Continuing from here, we're going to take hold of the front bumper cover and that fender liner, gently separate them in and behind the front brakes. And that exposes our washer fluid reservoir. To be able to remove the washer fluid reservoir, there is hardware that you can't gain access to unless you dislodge the corner of the front bumper cover. For this, you're going to find a plastic bracket that makes its way up along this area. It's held in place to the front fender with 2 8mm headed mounting bolts. Remove the pair. Now we'll take hold of the bumper cover and that plastic bracket, gently start pulling it down and away from the fender. Continuing from here, you're going to want to make your way in between the bumper cover and the washer fluid reservoir to locate the next pieces of mounting hardware. You'll find that there's a push clip and a 10mm bolt behind here. As I feel along the front area here, I can feel my 10mm bolt. And right alongside of that, we do have our push clip. We'll start with the 10mm bolt. There's that. Now continuing from there, we have our trim tool. We're going to go ahead and pull this out. For the push clip, you could make your way along the push clip and the washer fluid reservoir, or just between the reservoir and the body of the vehicle itself. It's really up to you. Now we have some movement from this area, we can make our way back into the wheel well. Now in this area, you're going to find along the back side of the washer fluid reservoir, we have 2 electrical connectors to disconnect. The process is the same for each of them. You just want to squeeze in on the locking tab and dislodge it. A quick inspection for corrosion. Assuming it's good, go ahead and set it aside, repeat the process on to the next one. Both those wires look good on this one. Now on the washer fluid pump itself, it does have the washer fluid hose. We want to go ahead and dislodge this from the pump. But be careful because fluid will start making its way out. We're essentially just breaking it free, but we're going to leave it on there temporarily. For this, I'm just going to use a small pick, make my way in between. You want to be careful not to damage your hose. You can see a little bit of washer fluid coming out of there. There we go. Start that back on there. Now that we have movement from here, we can continue on to our next 2 pieces of mounting hardware. Using our 10mm for each of these. Now let's make our way all the way down towards the bottom inboard corner. Down here we have our next 10mm bolt. For this, it's the last thing holding the reservoir in place. You want to make sure you're holding onto the reservoir. Now you have a lot of movement from this. Let's go ahead and follow the washer fluid hose all the way up the washer fluid tank here, and you're going to find a plastic clip to dislodge. I'm just going to use a pocket screwdriver for this. You can use a pick or whatever you might happen to have. We'll just pop that free. Now you can start pulling that washer fluid hose out and away from the reservoir, past all of its mounting points, making its way down. Now as we pull this off of here, keep in mind, as I said before, washer fluid will start coming out. We'll pop it off, hold it, and then we can remove the washer fluid reservoir from this area and drain it properly. The next thing we need to do is drain this out, recycle the fluid properly, or reuse it, and we're going to get this over to the bench. We have our reservoir on the bench. We're going to start removing several items. Starting at the bottom of it, we have our washer fluid pump. To remove the washer fluid pump, we're going to use a small prying device. I'm using a trim tool. Just carefully make my way under here. Once you have the top dislodged, we're going to start pulling the lower aspect out and away. Just pry this right out of here. There we are. Now we'll continue over here. We have our level sensor. We're also going to pry this out of place. Now that we have the washer fluid level sensor out of here, if the gasket came out with it, you can remove it. We'll just slide that right off of there, being extremely careful not to cause any damage to the level sensor. Set that aside. Now we're moving towards the neck of the washer fluid reservoir. You can find the area where the washer fluid hose makes its way through. This is just a small push tab that protrudes through the other side, so we're just going to use our trim tool, small prying device, and pry that right out of here. Just a quick inspection of that clip, make sure it is reusable. This looks fine. It's time to prepare to install our brand new washer fluid reservoir. We'll be starting up along the top. We have our plastic clip. We're going to press that right into its mounting port. Should press in. Now it's time for our level sensor. We'll make sure we have this in the proper orientation with the electrical connector facing down. Line it up, press it in. Double check, make sure it's completely seated. We'll move down to where our washer fluid pump goes. For this, you want to make sure you clean the washer fluid pump where it's going to be pressed into the washer fluid reservoir, and we'll gently press it straight in. To be able to install this in the vehicle, we're going to remove the washer fluid cap. Pivot that right out of place. Now we can start bringing the washer fluid tank over to the vehicle. You'll notice up along the top where the cap should be, I use some masking tape just to protect the area from any debris making its way inside. Now as we bring this in here, you're going to want to come in and underneath the headlamp, up and through this small gap. You'll have to come in at an angle, and you should be able to see my hand right up inside this top area here. As we're bringing it in, you can flex the bumper cover as needed here. I'm just going to remove my spacer. There we are. Now that we have that up in here, before we start pressing this into position, we want to make sure we align our washer fluid hose with the washer fluid pump. We'll slide that right on there as far as possible and give it a little tug to make sure it's secured. Continuing on, we want to bring that in and through the groove all the way up to the top where the plastic clip is. Just press that in along the way. We're going to swing this over, press it into the clip, lock it in. Let's continue on to aligning the push clip with its mounting port, and then we'll start in all three of the mounting bolts. After they're all started in, you can snug them up. Make our way along the other side of the tank now, starting with the top bolt, starting that in. Just have to get this aligned. Move along to the lower mounting bolt. They're all started in, let's snug them up. We'll make our way to the top mounting bolt. And now to the front. Now we can plug in our level sensor and pump. Each of these connectors, you just want to line them up, press them in, listen for a click. After you hear the click, a light tug. Same process for the next one. Now continuing from here, we have to start bringing the bumper cover back into the proper placement. We want to make sure that the bumper cover and the bracket is aligned with the front fender. While holding it in that position, we have our two 8mm headed mounting bolts. Once they're both started in, snug them up. Take hold of the front bumper cover, give it a wiggle, make sure it's properly secured to your front fender. One last quick inspection in this area and we can reinstall our fender liner. While getting this in position, let's pay attention to our two mounting stud ports. Get this aligned. There's one here, one there. Now it's time for our 4 push clips, starting with the top center, making our way down along the front of the fender liner. Install our two 10mm nut certs here. Take hold of the fender liner, ensuring it's properly secured. Under the front bumper cover here, we're going to put in our 2 push pins. Just want to align this. Press it in, lock it in with the center. Let's move over here. We should have 3 mounting bolts coming across. Our vehicle had 2. We'll reinstall them. Now it's time to reinstall the wheel. Once it's safely in place, start on all 5 of your lug nuts, snug them up, we'll get the wheel safely on the ground, and we can torque these to 100 foot-pounds. With the wheel safely back down on the ground, we'll torque each one of our lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds in a crisscross manner. Torqued. Remove the tape from the top of the washer fluid reservoir, reinstall your cap. To install the cap, we're going to take it and slide it over this hook and lock it in. Continuing from here, you just want to add your preferred washer fluid and close the cap. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.